Hello, 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 people. How is everyone doing? That was almost a little bit of a ropey start there. It looked like my internet was gonna go down, but it seems to have recovered itself. How is everyone doing this fine evening? A bit later than normal, and that's because I literally just scheduled this live stream. That was like properly lastminute.com. I wasn't going to do it because I actually had a video that I was supposed to release today, and I was going to let the new video premiere as opposed to the live stream, but I've been having trouble exporting it, as you do. Happens sometimes that I finish with a video, but it just takes just a rigmarole getting it exported. So yeah, that video is not going to be ready today, so maybe I'll schedule it for tomorrow instead. But you get me live instead, so swings and roundabouts. I don't know which one this would be, but what's going on, people? Shout out to all the people who are here. We've got 20 in the building already, which is amazing. Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining me. We've got a few in the chat. B. Campbell was here early, Campbell Soup. Khalid, how you doing, my brother? Always good to have you. Ashley, how you doing, sir? Roman, Ice-T, how's everyone doing? I hope everyone's really well. Yeah. We're going to have an interesting one today. And once again, it won't be a long one. I think these relatively short streams are going okay. And I am managing to keep my stamina in a good position. I'm not fatiguing myself as yet. So I'd say the output frequency is going according to plan. I do miss, I'm not going to lie, here's something between me and you guys. I do miss back in the day when my videos used to get far more views. Made life so much better. I haven't had a short that's hit the hundreds of thousands of views on YouTube for ages. My best short on YouTube hit just shy of 7 million views. Those kind of numbers are a far cry from the kind of views that I hit on YouTube these days. But yeah, there you go. It happens. I'm not gonna cry and whinge about it. At least you guys are seeing the content, and I guess at the moment you're who's important. But there's always an opportunity to redeem, so to speak. I'm trying different strategies. I'm hopeful that one of my sister accounts, because as yet it feels like my sister accounts. I've got two other accounts. I've got an account called The King Mono Show, and I've got an account called Down with the King. Down with the King is just my long form podcast. And by the way, I've got a new one dropping this week at some point. The interview's finished, it's recorded, and I don't edit them very heavily before going on the Down with the King channel. So that'll be dropping very soon. I'm not going to spoil who it's with, but I'm telling you, man, that is a good interview. I have been very privileged. This will be the third the interview standard, the people that I have on that channel are top tier. So it's just a privilege that I actually get to share an interview with them, because these are all of the people I've interviewed so far, people who could command a lecture hall themselves just based on the research that they do. So what a privilege for me, and I don't say that in any small way. And I know it's only going to grow from here as well. So that's an exciting channel. It's only got 400 subs. So if you haven't subscribed to the Down with the King site, you're probably going to find it hard to find it on search, because it's got so few subscribers that YouTube doesn't recognize it yet. But I tell you what, if you go into my main video, in fact, it's on the screen. I'm on my channel at the moment. If you go to my main channel and go to videos, I've got clips from the Down with the King channel. So let's see, one of these should be this one here. Was It Revenge? So this one, my interview with Professor Dana Marniche, is just basically based on old. So this is Down with the King channel format, very simple kind of interview format. And if you just click into the description, click into description, watch the full video here, that will take you to the channel. I've also got a clip from my interview with Dr. Maria Charles, which will take you into the channel, which is, where is it? Here, it's here, right next to it. So I've got a clip from my interview with Dr. Maria Charles, and if you click into there, that will also take you into the channel. So yeah, get involved with Down with the King. And if you like the content, give it a sub, man. I've got the sister channels that I've got, I'm not doing the usual format of kind of like, this is my main channel and this is my slop channel, which a lot of people do, which is fair enough. It's more kind of, I feel like these are better homes for them. I was initially going to do those long form interviews and bring them on here, but I thought it's a bit of a slog to go from a well edited documentary to a 3-hour long form interview. It feels like it should have its own home. So I'm kind of happy with the way that I finally decided to structure it. So yeah, get on there. It's a fast growing community. I mean, the channel's nothing but a few weeks old, so I'm really happy with the way it's performing so far. Hopefully it'll just continue to grow and we'll continue to pique your interest. I think we get a good few new subs from the interview I've got coming. And yeah, and like I said, if you're like, even yesterday's live stream, if you joined, I said I want to get I've got a long list of people that I want to get on the channel. Dr. Ade Adamson, the skin cancer melanoma / melanin expert, is one that I would love to have on the channel. So yeah, if we can, if you guys, I always say it to you guys, an introduction from a third party like you guys is so much more powerful than me calling people up individually and be like, hey man, can I have you on the show? So feel free to throw my name out there and then tell me where you've been throwing my name out there, and I'll tell you if I'm interested or not, and we'll kind of like take it from there. But anyway, that's it. What's up, Westgal? Join the chat, wicked. Please share the channel link here now. That's a good idea. I mean, you could have done it as well, but you know, I'm just joking. Okay, cool. That is a good idea. Let me do that since
it's just basically based on old footage that I found in Asia.
No, there you go. That's Down with the King, and then I'm going to click on the channel, and then I'm just going to copy that. There you go. Just because, you know,
it's just basically based on old footage
to do it, so I'll do it during my live stream instead. You know, not complaining. You guys must be so sick of me. Hey, I'm not going to apologize. Back-to-back live streams. Yeah, you guys should be, you know, I should be feeling sorry for myself right now. All right, fantastic. Link shared, preamble out of the way. Let's get into the topic today. And the topic today, as you saw, guys, is hair. Okay. The thumbnail. For the thumbnail, I just had this. It says divine trichology. Now, there is a phrase. Let's say phrase. There's a phrase, ethnotrichology, that in many ways I kind of feel like I've coined. I'm going to kind of roll with it. And it's one that I want to become kind of a household term, because the whole concept of, obviously I referenced Jeffrey Tassie's studies quite a lot. So there's a Egyptologist. He actually passed away quite unexpectedly because he was relatively young, called Tassie, Jeffrey Tassie, who I referenced quite heavily. Now, he's the first, or at least the first that I've come across, to really give any respect to the codification of hairstyles in ancient Egyptian civilization. This is a phenomenon that most Egyptologists are able to observe, and most historians in general are able to observe, but don't give any credence to. They ignore it because they've already bought into the hypothesis that the hair is just vanity. It's just that everyone's bald because they all suffer from lice infestations, which they completely made up, by the way. No contemporaneous evidence for lice infestations, just entirely made up based on their own experience. Africans don't even have lice by and large. and that is a kind of an interbreeding thing, because that's how lice actually are spread. They're spread through intercourse, and also they can only maintain in certain hair types. They aren't specific, and I would say they aren't endemic in African societies. This is known scientifically, and yet the head lice theory, they completely have saturated the study of ancient Egypt with that. And because of that, well, obviously, we know that all of these things are born out of Eurocentrism, i.e., the idea that they have to separate ancient Egypt, the Nile Valley, from the rest of Africa. And one of the things that all of those contemporaneous Egyptologists of the time, I'm talking about 18th, 19th, and 20th century, one of the things that they would have all known, probably better than modern populations, because there's been a massive attack on trichology in Africa. But one of the things that they all would have known is that African societies are obsessed with hair. And even we might be separated from that, because years of brutal colonialism and the outlawing and the attacking of the expression of hierarchy and position through hair, that was literally genocided out of us by European occupation, to a point where many people have no connection with that anymore. I know for a fact, as a Nigerian, it's just like standard, like dad will just cut it off. It's very religious. It's very kind of like, I don't want to say Christian, but obviously I'm coming from my own personal frame of reference. It's very Christian to just cut your hair off, man. What's all this twist? No, I want to see these demonic twists in your hair and these dreads and stuff like that. And it's fantastic to see, obviously, modern, Afrobeats artists and everything bringing back some of this trichological culture. We even see this it's growing, like Amazons, who's having a massive comeback in Rwanda, which I think is amazing. But what I would like us to connect with is the meaning behind these hairstyles, because it's great that we're doing them, and it's great. I think that connection needs to be made. But I also think there needs to be real dedicated study by Africans into the meaning behind the hairstyles, what a hairstyle at a certain time in a certain place meant to that person within that culture. Because in Egypt, they had really strict codification. And if you observe the ancient Egyptian tombs, if you observe if you observe the tombs, if you observe the temples, and if you observe the places where the monarchies and the nobles would dwell, it gives you a really good indication of how those hairstyles express themselves in the society. And you will see patterns start to form. You will see patterns forming. You'll see certain hairstyles and you go, no, that's definitely not someone of nobility, because they wouldn't have that style. Or that's definitely someone of nobility, they had that style. Or that's a priest because they have that style. That's someone, that's a queen or a very noble woman because she has that style. These things, you do start to pick them up. Also, when it comes to the ethnotrichology of leadership and of rulership, you also have the added aspect of crowns. And I don't know how many of you have got into my crowns documentary that I've done some time ago. I'm going to be taking you through, by the way, the documentary has been converted into an article that's on the website, tkmedu.com. You could put a link in there if you're there, Wesker, to the website, tkmedu.com. And the crown article touches on the fact that all of the crowns have got some kind of linkage to native African hairstyles. Some of them are much more direct linkages, whereas some of them are slightly more abstracted, but the one thing that all of the crowns of ancient Kemet have in common is that they are linked to Afro hair, African hair. They're linked to African hair, and they can't be achieved. I'd say near enough all of these crowns are fiction if you try to place them within a Eurocentric context. And I always take time to do a bit of mockery when it comes to, I mean, let's just have a bit of fun with this right now. Okay. Let's type in Pharaoh. Someone name like one of these Eurocentric movies for me. I need a movie. This is just for shits and giggles. Pharaoh from. Oh, there you go. Let's go to Night at the Museum is a bit too jokey. I want to see one where they're semi trying to be serious with it. Let's try 10 Commandments, because what I want to get at is this will do. Perfect. Oh, never fails, does it? So let's open this in a new tab. And this is me picking on the lowest hanging fruit again, but to be honest with you, this might be one of the best renditions of Anemi's crown that you'll ever get out of one of these Eurocentric depictions. This looks better than most of the cosplay that we see coming out of modern Pharaohism in modern Egypt at the moment. This is actually quite decent. They've got the they got the on the uraeus, they got the Hajet and the, I can't remember what it's called. Well, they got the asp anyway. They got the cobra and the falcon. They've done quite a good job here. This looking decent. Macy's always so quick off the mark, and I'm so glad that she said this, because I'm just going to quickly pull up her quote. What does she mean, people, really quickly? What does Macy mean when she says back? What does she mean? I know this image is funny. Let's stay focused. And thank you for posting the crown article there, Wesker. Much appreciated for everybody. What does Macy mean when she says back? Yes, indeed. Okay. Flippy, flappy, floppy towel on the head. Okay. It's ridiculous. Now, there's two reasons that their rendition of Anemi's looks like this and looks nothing like the real thing. Okay. The first reason is they have an obsession with trying to link it with modern Middle Eastern culture. So in their mind, this thing that the pharaoh used to wear has got some relation to oh, why does that come on? This dash. I'm sure it's called. This is what I was talking about. They're trying to make it look like this thing here. What they're trying to do is create a kind of like non-suggestive kind of beneath the surface link between this, and these two things are not related in the slightest. Okay, this is a dish dash. This is a modern, I would say, Islamic dress that's kind of regional to the Gulf regions. I've actually got one of these from when I used to live in Qatar. Put it on every now and then when I just want to like flip the style a little bit, It's lovely. Not dissing it at all, but this has got no relationship to this. Okay, there's no line of descent, there's no inheritance, and there's no cultural carryover. The reason Macy said back, and I've left that on the screen, is because we know what Anemi's truly looks like. Okay, Anemi's is a crown that requires African hair. And this is the one thing they never want to acknowledge, because it's not a thing that flippy floppy flaps around on your head. It's something that was given volume and made solid by the hair that went inside it. Okay, something that's given volume and made solid by the hair that went inside it. This link was just posted up by Wesker. Feel free to have a look through this article. It is amazing, and we will be referring to it for a few times today. But I want to show you examples of the Nimes. This is an example of the Nimes worn by Menkaure. This is a statue of Menkaure you'll rarely see, because he's looking like any African's uncle in this image. But what do you notice about the shape of it? You'll notice that it bulges out at the back. You can also see his twist poking through the front of the crown. And this is something that is linked directly to the Nimes. The Nimes is the crown that is associated with the twisting of hair. The pattern on the Nimes, the pattern on the side of the Nimes, those lines represent locks, because the pattern of the crown tended to represent the texture of the hair. We see this consistently throughout all of the cap crowns in Kemet, and the Nimes was no different. Let's scroll down. This is Tutankhamun's golden mask. Everyone's seen it from the front. How many people have seen it from behind, where the locks, or the pattern of the locks, coalesce into a single knot tied at the base? Okay, this is a crown that has shape and volume. Shape and volume. Let me see if there's any more examples. Here we go. And that's the cat. I'm just trying to go. Here you go. This is the earliest. This is one of the earliest renditions, if not the earliest rendition of the Nimes that we have. This is the crown of Djoser, which everyone loves and everyone knows he wore locks beneath. This was the big clue to me, the big piece of evidence that the Nimes was a representation of locks, because good old Djoser, in its third dynasty representation, a massive 4.5 to 5,000 years ago, showed us exactly what should happen beneath that crown and why that crown has volume. If the front view doesn't give you enough of a clue, have a look at the side view. Look at those thick African locks protruding from the back to the front. Only African hair can do this. There's no other hair that has that kind of volume. Any ideas that this is anything else other than locks is pure delusion. Okay, look at the volume, look at the space, look at the amount of volume that's filled from front to back. This is thick African locks. Okay, and this is the culture. This is the hair culture that permeated ancient Egypt. Okay, it's undeniable. And this is what you should see. This is what should be represented. This is what Hollywood will never represent. This is what Hollywood will never understand. And they keep giving us these bald people with flippy floppy towels in their head. Once again, this is why I call what they do cosplay. They don't understand it. They don't get it. Okay? They have no link to what we do. They have no link to that. And by the way, when I say we, you'll notice when I'm doing these talks about ancient Egypt and stuff like that, I don't say we often. I often keep it quite academic, talk about it as though it's a culture that sits on the African continent and talk about the cultural links. When it comes to hair, you damn right I'm going to say we. Because let me make something very, very clear without any shadow of a doubt. African hair ethnotrichology and hair culture, hair trends is universal across melanated cultures. We all do the same thing with our hair. And the ancient Egyptians were no different to other Africans. It's a universal hair culture. And this is something that I think even Kapruki, when I did that book launch kickoff and I had all the guys on the panel, I love the fact that Kapruki said his favorite documentary that he's done was the one that he done on hair. But he said the reason why that's the favorite piece that he's done is because it's one of these topics that really you can't debate us with. You can't debate an African about hair. Okay? You just can't debate an African when it comes to hair in ancient Egypt. You can't debate us when it comes to the crowns. You can't debate us when it comes to the depictions on steles. You can't debate us when it comes to the depiction of hair on tombs. You just can't debate this topic with us. You will lose, because our simple response will be, can you do that with your hair? No, moving on, because we not only can, we do. Once again, not a dead culture. Ancient Egyptian culture, Kemetic culture lives in modern African societies. I always say that. And this is what's powerful about it. We can just see things that we do currently that they used to do thousands of years ago. There's no leaping, there's no stretching, there's no coping, it's just what we do. It's like, I can do that with my hair tomorrow. Well, I can't because I'm balding, but other people could do that with their hair tomorrow. This is what it is, But anyway, let's move on. I want to watch a little bit of, I love that phrase, cultural continuity. We always use it because that is what it is. That is what it is. And when you see it, once you see the cultural continuity between ancient Egypt and modern African societies, you can't unsee it. And this entire debate all of a sudden doesn't become a debate anymore. It doesn't become a discussion that you need to have. It's kind of like, come on, man. This is foreign to you. This is how we do. This is Africa, man. I don't know where you're going with this, but you have no connection to this culture. So just give it up. But anyway, regardless of that, let's watch some videos together, because today I want to do a little bit of a dive through the archives, man. He said, damn, better take care of my hair while Shang. Was that in response to me thinning? Listen, I've been thinning for a long time. I've got my little techers, you know what I mean? That's why you guys never see me without a cap. Yeah, that's why you're all deceived into thinking that I look really young for my it's all a deception, man. Don't worry, you'll get there. You'll get there. I won't curse you though. Might not be soon. It's really funny. Let me tell you guys a really funny story. So I saw my nephew today. I went to drop my kids at my mum's, and my niece two of my nieces and my nephew was there. My nephew's like 15, and he gets out the car with my mum, or who's obviously his grandma. Gets out the car with my mum, and he's got a bonnet on his head. It's like, and it's the middle of the day, and they've just come from like the supermarket. I'm like, dude, why are you wearing a bonnet? What's wrong with you, man? Don't be wearing a bonnet in public. And he's like, I'm not really happy with my hair. It's looking a bit messy. So I was like, take that off, man. So his sister, younger sister, rips it off his head. He gets really mad, but his hair, it looks all right to me. I was like, dude, like, let your hair out, man. It doesn't look bad. Said, no, I've got to cover up. It doesn't look good. And I laughed at him because I was like, you better hope you do not have your dad's genes, because his dad, my brother, he went bald at 22, man. At 22, hairline was just destroyed. I don't know what happened with him, because he had the most beautiful locks. He had the most beautiful twists, like really, like he had the most amazing hair, and he licked 22, and it was like gone, completely gone. I was like, I swear, I hope for your own sake that you don't have his genes when it comes to hair, man, because he was an unfortunate case. I was all right. I rocked right the way up until, actually, I'm not going to say, because then you start guessing my age, but I got a lot later than 22, put it that way. But anyway, let's get started. That was a long digression. Video. Hair. You're lucky, surfactant, having a full head of hair at that age, man. You've done very, very well. And it's this is where African phenotypic diversity comes into it again. Because you get siblings, man. My older brother, not that one who I just told you about, the one who's just older than me, his hairline's perfect. He's 3 years older than me. He hasn't lost a strand. His hair is perfect on top. You know what I mean? It's just yeah, you get that. Yeah, anyway. Where was I? Yeah, I was supposed to be showing you a video. So I'm going to play a video now, guys, anyway. If the ancient Egyptians can wear bonnets in public, so can I. Fair play. And in fairness, he had a little bit of an afro, so it had a little bit of that puff to it. It wasn't quite cut style. It didn't quite look like the ancient Egyptian one, but it had a little bit of volume to it. I was like, you're doing well, young. anyway, let's I digress. All right, so the first video I'm going to play you is this one. This is an old video, but it's an oldie and a goodie. And look at the views, guys. Remember I was telling you I don't get these views anymore. Look at these views. I've got 1 million on this one. I got 620k views on this one. If I was to produce this exact video now, I'd be happy to get to the 10k mark. But you know, this is what we do. Look, 500,000 views on this one. This channel used to just spit out those kind of views real easy. I do miss it, I'm not gonna lie. And it was good for growing my subscribers as well. But anyway, that's an aside. Let's have a look at the video together. All right, and we'll dissect it a little bit. There's another video that I want to show you. There's another 2 videos. So in all, we're going to be looking at 3 videos, all my own content, so that I don't have to kind of like reinvent the wheel, because this is a topic that I've talked about quite a lot. And I think that will be okay for the length of this live stream. So I hope that sounds like a good idea to you guys. Let's get cracking.
Hairstyle. Jollof rice is a staple food for a number of ethnicities. Additionally, the jollof rice. This unfortunate site is a particularly strong. The ancient,
you see what it just,
according to Pharaoh John, the African origin in Abu.
These shorts are all
archaeologists.
Watch them all.
Hairstyle. Many proponents of hairstyle.
Okay, pause it. All right. First of all, put a 1 in the chat if you heard the audio as I was skipping through all of those videos. Just put a 1 in the chat if you heard any audio when I was skipping through those videos from the videos, because then I know I don't have to. Yeah, I know I've been shadow banned. This is like you just said. Yeah, that was before I got shadow banned. Okay, cool. The audio is good. Wicked. Yeah, exactly. And that's what I was trying to say. Like, I'm shadow banned now. I do really miss the days when my content was getting the amount of views that it deserved. It's not. It feels very unfair, you know. It feels very unfair because we should be reaching millions more people. But I think at this time, when they hadn't quite cottoned on to what I was doing, we were whooping Eurocentric Egyptology's ass. We were whooping them. We were whooping them because people realize these guys don't have no credibility. And now we're kind of like, by the suppression of my channel, obviously, and channels like mine, you know, and the release of these ridiculous studies, which I am going to get around to debunking, by the way, but I'm not going to talk about it every day. But they're kind of like trying to claw back some credibility for their useless paradigms around, you know, Eurasian Kemet. It's just the most stupid thing. Anyway, let me get started.
In ancient Egypt were one of the many ways the Egyptians distinguished themselves as a distinctively African civilization. Of the numerous hairstyles donned by the men of Kemet, the most popular by far was the short twist. Egyptologists, for obvious reasons, have often speculated that this hairstyle was a wig, emulating Kushite hair, but this has never been substantiated by any evidence. In reality, it is well known that this is a popular hairstyle that permeated continental Africa. Bronze artworks from Benin illustrate the commonality of the short twist being worn in similar concentric rows on various depictions. A variation of this style can be found amongst the Afar men of Ethiopia, where the twists are also substantially lengthened. This style is also reflected in Kemetic artwork, but by far the most notable example of this style was captured contemporaneously by Roman artists in exquisite bronze busts portraying the distinctly African appearance of the ancient Egyptians. Hairstyle.
Okay, so I'm going to pause it there. So this video really was dedicated to the short twist, which is why I coined it. I should trademark. Actually, I can't trademark African hairstyle, but the Kemetic short twist. And I actually feel like that name has really caught on because I hear a lot of people saying it. But before I said it in this video, no one had said it before. But that's the name, at least for me, because Egyptologists don't bother with it. They called it, Egyptologists, by the way, called it the tiled style. Yeah, I don't know what the hell that means. But they think they put little tiles on their head or something like that. Like, this is what we're dealing with. You know, they just don't know what they are. That's why I think that's why occasionally you see they have these ancient Egyptian queens and they got all these gold squares kind of like draped all over their head and these kind of like, and it looks like miniature gold tiles. Maybe that's what they think that style is. Sorry guys, I'm just gonna actually have to pause the live quickly because someone just rang my doorbell. I'm not sure if anyone's gonna get it. So give me literally 1 second. Sorry, I know this is really inconvenient. It's okay. Emergency evaded. So I think that's why they called it the tiled style. But the point being that this style, which I called the short twist, really, I think the naming of it was important because when we give these styles names, it stops them. You know, nomenclature, for want of a better phrase, is important because it stops us having these fruitless arguments with a lot of these people who sit outside of our culture. We know these are twists, okay? But if we want to give the specific type of twist a name, we should give it a name. And this is why I call it the Kemetic short twist, because obviously we find this oldest iteration, or at least physical iteration, we find this oldest iteration somewhere down the Nile Valley, and it's a short twist. That's what it is. Then we don't have to go back and forth with people having stupid arguments. So, for instance, when I see people doing videos about the race of the ancient Egyptians, and then
in ancient Egypt were one of the many ways the Egyptians distinguished themselves as a distinctively African civilization. Of the numerous hairstyles,
and then they show this image, or
donned by the men of Kemet,
they show this image, which someone has done in Metatron's first Were the Ancient Egyptians Black video. He showed this image, and obviously my very easy response is explain that. I'll say it to a modern dissenter, I'll say it to a Eurocentrist, I'll say it to anyone. Explain that hairstyle. What is it? What is it? What is that hairstyle? Can you explain it? Can you tell me what it is? Because I can tell you what it is. I can tell you what it is real easy. That's like, no, it's no problem for me to explain that hairstyle. Go to any African person and say, what's this hairstyle? And they'll tell you, oh, and you know what they'll do? They'll pull their hat off if their hair's long. I'll explain it. Let me just show you. I just got to get these two strands in. They'll start doing it in front of you. Yeah? They'll literally start doing it in front of you. This is an African hairstyle. It's very, very simple. Okay? This is not, there's no, it doesn't take much, you know, it doesn't take much contortion of reality in order for us to get here. This is an African hairstyle. It's not something that you can just dream up doing. Okay? So it's very, very simple. Right? This is a very common hairstyle. And the thing about this hairstyle as well, it's not restricted in any way. This was a very, very universal hairstyle. Why do I say that? Because if you look at the latter half,
the most popular by far was the short twist. Egyptologists, for obvious reasons, have often speculated that this hairstyle was a wig emulating Kushite hair, but this has never been substantiated by any evidence. In reality, it is well known that this is a popular hairstyle that permeated continental Africa.
So obviously we see iterations of the same hairstyle amongst the Benin artifacts.
Bronze artworks from Benin illustrate the commonality of the short twist being worn in similar concentric rows on various depictions.
And it's indisputably the same layered, twisted hairstyle that you see. But not only that,
a variation of this style can be found amongst the Afar men of Ethiopia.
We obviously see it amongst the Afar, okay? And we can even see modern iterations of the Afar people actually completing the hairstyle, which I've shown many times. This is actually seen on the Kemetic walls. So it's not like there's even any distance here. If I was just type here, it's the only, by the way, you guys can search this. If you type in ancient Egyptian barber, this is probably the only image you'll get. You'll get the relief from the tomb of Usahat, I believe. But I'm going to type in ancient Egyptian barber so you guys know what to search for. Okay. Unless they've removed it. No, they haven't. There you go. Literally the first image that shows up Someone correct me. I believe it's the tomb of Usahat. But let me quickly just open this. It's a nice high resolution version as well. I've obviously shown this before. Surfactant, thank you for your $5. He said they can suppress these. I know how that sentence ends. I'm gonna say they can suppress these twists. I'm not gonna say what you were gonna say when you wrote that. Yeah, that's funny. Sorry. All right, so going back to my depiction. So have a look. This is, you can see the 1 second, let me zoom out a little bit. You can see the very significant or significance of this relief. You see his natural hair standing upright. It's being held by a band, and you can see the twists being placed in his hair individually. Okay. There's just no doubt about what's taking place here. And you can see all the people waiting for their hair treatment. They've all got their twists and they're all in the sun waiting for their redo or their do-up, their freshen up from the barber, the one single barber. I love this image, by the way. I literally love this image because it has modern cultural significance. Everyone knows that one barber who everyone wants to use, and you could end up in depression. I don't even want to think about how long this dude is going to be waiting to get his hair twisted. He's going to be there for days under the sycamore tree or whatever tree that is. He's going to be sitting there for days. But this is it. Once again, and actually, I'm glad someone just talked about sitting in the sun as well. These guys are sitting in the sun. A couple of them, these two, lucky enough to hit the shade. Okay, so you got a couple of them sitting in the shade. The rest of them are sitting in the sun. Okay, we already know only melanated beings can sit in that kind of sunlight. Okay, and even as faded as these images are, these are just clearly very deeply melanated, medium to dark-skinned Africans. It's just really simple to see. Okay, now I think, so the one thing I wanted to show as well before I move on from this video was
where the twists are also substantially lengthened. This
how
style
universal.
is also reflected in Kemetic art.
So I think this is the tomb of Nebuchadnezzar here. He has a much thicker version. And if you stay on this video, I'll show you some different iterations that show you, depending on the type or texture of hair you have, how this can show itself in slightly different iterations. But let me just quickly carry on.
But by far the most notable example of this style.
This is what I want to show you. So someone tell me why this image is significant, and then just let's just block Rai. I don't like him. People like that, see, just what they think that you come into my channel and you think the chat's gonna be all about you, and you're not here to spread any knowledge. You're here to just block him. If you've got a spanner next to your name, block him. I don't want him here. Get him out of here. Bye, Rai. And don't come back in a hurry as well, yeah? I haven't got time for people like that, man. They really want to come into my live stream, make the chat all about them, like anyone's gonna hear any of what they got to say, come with their nonsense. Please, man. Anyway, back to where we were before that buffoon came in here with his rubbish. Roman bust of an Upper Egyptian. Someone tell me why this, yes, the forehead's huge, but that's not the reason why this is significant. Someone tell me what's significant about this. What's significant about this? There we go. I think you've kind of said what I wanted to say. Orthodox Ra. It's more modern and it's not from Egypt. Okay? This is significant. This is significant because I'm talking about here the universality of these hairstyles amongst ancient and medieval, not just ancient and medieval. Yes, it is Greek, correct as well. Ancient and medieval melanated Africans. Okay, you have to think about what were we doing before colonization came along, and no offense to you guys who are of religion here, and before Christianity and Islam came along and demonized our expressions of hair, or you could say colonists used those religions to demonize our expressions of hair, but it's one or the other. Yeah. But either which way, before that happened, what were melanated people doing with their hair? And I'm telling you right now, the short twist, the Kemetic short twist, was one of the most common styles that you can see. You see it very, very, very often in ancient artworks, particularly amongst Black Hellenistic people, or Black Hellenes, whatever you want to call them. Black Greeks, Black Romans use this style a lot. Okay. And by the way, I think Idiot Boy, before I kicked him from the chat, was talking about, oh, well, you know, they always try and come with that kind of like horn supremacy chat, you know, where they're trying to, it's this modern Eurocentrism, people trying to pretend that they're pretending that you're Ethiopian seems to be the new thing amongst the far right. But I can sniff them from a mile away. That's why I just block the idiots. But anyway, what I was trying to say was, they give this, some of these people like to give this impression that, oh, well, you know, it was only a certain type of hair. And obviously, I 100% agree that the Afar is a brilliant representation and an example, but it's not the only one. Let me defend that. Okay, guys, you've all seen the I'm just popping it into the chat now. I mean, into no, it's not turned up. Is it not turned up? No, that, why has it changed the spelling? How dare you? No, do that. Didn't spell it right. 10. All right. There we go. Second try, got it right. Okay. So you've all seen this statue of this man from Dendera, okay? The Tentarite statue. Let me just quickly open this up in a new tab. Someone quickly tell me why this is significant. Why is this statue significant? What am I stressing here? Getting nice and close, not to his buttocks, to his hair. Someone tell me why this is significant. I'm trying to communicate something here. It's particularly the hair. Yeah, particularly the hair. He's got a different texture of hair. Okay. And these curls, I would say this is just an expression of twist. These aren't necessarily the butter curls that you see. Okay. This is just twists. Okay. This is an Egyptian. We know that this is no doubt an Egyptian. Okay, he might be Roman era, but this is an upper Egyptian, okay, from Dendera, as depicted by the Romans, and they had no doubt about the texture of his hair. Okay, they have no doubt about what he looked like, and we should have no doubt that that's the same hairstyle. So it's a universal style. But then if we go out once again, let me give you another example of that style. Let me give you another example. Now we know this guy is a Roman who they've been suppressing, but let's get a nice good image of his hair. You'll notice here, let's see, let me get a better image. Yes, a bit better. Yes, high resolution. Let me open image in a new tab. Bear with me. You'll see a different iteration, but if you look close enough, guys, that's the same hairstyle. Okay, slightly different iteration, slightly different arrangement, but it's the same hairstyle. Now this guy's just labeled as image of a Moor. This is a Roman, I believe this is a Roman emperor who they're suppressing from us. They're suppressing the truth about his identity. But if you look at the the expense. This is quite possibly the finest statue in the entirety of the Louvre, and I'm not exaggerating. Okay, in the entirety of the Louvre, this might quite possibly be the finest statue there. It's an amazing statue to behold, and they just called it statue of a Moor who was possibly a slave. I kid you not, that's what the description says. Statue of a Moor, possibly a slave. dressed like this. Yeah, let me show you this guy's. Oh, I haven't got the full body. I've got an image, but I'm not gonna. Let me just go back to my image search. If you see this guy's drip, yeah, who they've tried to say was possibly a slave, is so insulted. If you see his full drip, yeah, this dude, yeah, my man's got the latest Yeezy Roman medievals on. Yeah, he's got a flipping gold belt. Like, this dude's swagger is undeniable. Yeah, they've used 2 different forms of stone to create this statue, and the obsidian, I think it's obsidian, is polished so much it looks like plastic. Yeah, and then they're trying to tell you that it's possibly a slave. Like, what the hell? Do you imagine the madness of these people to say this crap? But anyway, that's an aside. We're not doing Black Romans today. We're not doing that. But the point being that the hairstyle is what I want to concentrate on. You saw that's the same hairstyle at play. Okay, cool. All right, so let's move on. I think I've got what I wanted to get from that video. I want to show you another video because we have got kind of a couple to get through. So I'm just going to close down all of these images that I opened up, and we're going to keep it. I should keep that one just on the screen just for just for the hilarity of it. Sorry. When we look at images like this, it just really should put into context where the delusion is coming from. You know, and it should make you laugh when you hear terms like blackwashing. Yeah. Anyway, close. Let's keep it moving now. Thank you for that piece of comedy. Let's move on to the next video that I wanted to show you. So it was, no, I'm not gonna do the headrest video today. In fact, because of time, I'm gonna have to keep this very succinct. So I'm gonna move straight on to the next one because I just realized we've already gone over an hour. So we need to be wrapping up soon. So next one is going to be one that I've done quite recently. I'm not sure how many of you have seen this. 14k views is not bad for a modern short on my channel. Yeah, it's not bad. All right, so I hope you're all tuned in. I'm going to click play and it's going to start going, okay?
Study, Jeffrey Tazzi states, hairstyles were used as a means of display. Study, Jeffrey Tazzi states, hairstyles were used as a means of displaying status. An institutionalized canon for hairstyles was established. These codified hairstyles continued to serve as the norms for identifying members of the administration or signs of authority. However, the nature of the hair texture required for creating these styles is seemingly disregarded, with Egyptologists overemphasizing the utilization of wigs, even where there is little or no supporting evidence. They also fail to acknowledge the extant use of these styles in modern Africa, where the same styles remain in use. It should be noted that the practice of ethnotrichology is a uniquely African one. Ethnotrichology describes an expression of cultural status and values through the use of socially recognized hair grooming. Tassi states, hairstyles as a representation of self were an integral part of the generation, maintenance and structuring of Egyptian society, reflecting changes in Egyptian identity and the development of social organization. He highlights 6 major styles used consistently for ethnotrichological distinction from the pre-dynastic to the Middle Kingdom. These styles are shaved, which is basically bald, cropped, which Africans identify as a shape-up, short, round and curly, which is essentially an afro, the tiled style, which is short twists or butter curls, and the bob, which is slightly longer twists. The The shoulder-length bob, also a variation of twists, presents a slightly longer variation. And finally, the tripartite style, which is full-length twists or sister locks of thin to medium girth. All of these styles are universal to most African societies. Other styles acknowledged are the globular, a large afro, the side plait, and the duplex buffant plaited, which are all variations of the aforementioned styles. Egyptologists also misappropriate the hairstyles used by the Kemetic infantry and villagers as headgear or helmets. Culturally aligned Africans will instantly recognize this style, which you will find in widespread use amongst the Oromo, as essentially a flat-topped afro. So it is clear that all of the hairstyles seen in ancient Egypt are dependent on curly African, also known as afro, hair texture, hence the Eurocentric overestimation of universal wig use, even when contradictory evidence to this claim can be found in the multiple motifs showing afro hair being styled. Note, there is a total inability to acknowledge the universal lack of any non-African hairstyles or textures throughout dynastic Egypt. Their hairstyles, as seems to be the case for every other aspect of Kemetic culture, was shared entirely with other continental Africa and bore no resemblance to styles used in the Mediterranean and the Levant. Study, Jeffrey Tazzi states,
Okay,
hairstyles were used as a means of displaying.
so there's that one done. Hope you like that one. Oddly enough, that's actually one of my favorite videos. Really do love it. Just because, once again, this topic is one that we can approach with so much simplicity, and there's not much confusion about it. We don't have to kind of like really make a meal out of it. It's just something that we can just look at, understand, observe, and appreciate the fact that this is real. Now, I'm going to go through these styles with you guys as I kind of go through the video, because one of the things that I take for granted is how much ancient Egyptian artwork I look at. I look at more ancient Egyptian artwork than the average person. In fact, that's what I spend a majority of my time doing because of the nature of my channel. I am constantly looking at artwork from ancient Egypt. And as a result, I've become very familiar. I know what the protocols are. And the thing that I can tell you, which you've probably already picked up on, is the fact that they're in all dynasties of ancient Egypt. I'm talking about, obviously, the kingdom periods, as in Old, Middle, and New Kingdom. I have not, on a single occasion, seen a hairstyle that is not attributable to African hair. Not once. So I want you to think about the likelihood of that. In several thousand years, let's say 3,000 years unbroken from the start of the Old to the end of the New Kingdom. In 3,000 years, contiguous rather than continuous, years of history in ancient Egypt, not a single citable occasion where you're like, well, clearly this is a hairstyle that is not attributable to Africans. Not once. Every single hairstyle, you have to ask anyone who makes that argument about ancient Egyptians not being native Afro-textured hair Africans. And when I say Afro-textured hair, I'm talking about the full gamut. So from very tightly curled, really kind of like tightly curled hair, to the wavy Afro texture that you find amongst perhaps Sudanese. In fact, I would say Sudanese gives the amazing thing about Sudan. What an amazing nation. When it comes specifically to hair, they have the largest gamut. It's massive. It's literally massive. They have everything from the most tightly curled hair to dead straight hair. And the hair texture has no correlation with the complexion as well, which I find amazing. This is something that's really unique to Sudan. So in Sudan, you can get the darkest skinned person with straight hair. And if you're not familiar with Sudanese, then you won't know this. You can get the darker skinned person with straight hair, okay, and you can get the um, darker skinned person with curly hair, but then you can get a really light person who's got um, really kinky hair, really curly hair. It's amazing. It's a very particularly with hair texture. It's one of those nations that I go, wow. Yeah. Someone said like those dark East Indians, and I would say, yeah, some of them actually look really. I remember I had a colleague who I used to work with in the Middle East. I was talking about him the other day to my wife, and when I first met him, I actually thought he might be like a Sidi or something like that. Some kind of like, I thought he was like from India, but I thought he was a black Indian, because I was like, I've never seen a black person with like, his hair was just like really, it was still afro, but it had a real straighty waviness to it. And he was Sudanese, full Sudanese guy, fantastic guy, really fantastic guy. I loved him and his wife, and they had beautiful kids and whatever. But yeah, full-blooded Sudanese man. And I was like, man, I've got so much to learn about this world, you know. But I just thought he might have something. Yes, cities do have afro, but they have like wavy afros. Some of them can have kinky hair, but many of them have very wavy afros. Or like a lot of, to be honest, even a lot of Southern Indians. Do you know? I've said this before. I'm not sure people know. Do you know that the biggest purchasers of relaxer in the world are not black people, but Indians? A lot of people don't know that India has the biggest market for purchasing relaxers. It's almost universal. I remember I walked into a barber shop when I used to live in the Middle East. I walked into one of these Indian barber shops. I contemplated getting my hair cut there for a while, and I was like, nah, I'm not doing this. But what I did notice when I walked into the shop is they had rows. I mean, like up 10 rows, and then just across the entire wall, boxes of Escal. And I was like, you guys get a lot of, talking about, you guys get a lot of black people coming in here now. No. So what's going on with that? You know, this is, and they were like, this is what the Indians, they I was like, what? And then I did my research and looked into it. I was like, wow, hair relaxer sells millions in India. Like, had no idea. It was crazy. Yeah, I don't know what they were going to do with my hairline. I just thought it just didn't feel like a safe space for me. I thought, this is a ship too far. I was like, I know I'm away from home right now, but yeah, this is just, I've gone a little bit too far if I do this. But anyway, digression out of the way, let me go back to this video. So you see this recreation that I've created, this kind of like, I'm not going to call it reconstruction, because it's just an idea to give a visualization. See the way this woman's hair is twisted? That was very deliberate. So you can see the main image. This is the #1 expression of hair amongst women in Kemet. So a lot of time when people see the steles and it looks like the women have straight hair, that's never what is being depicted. I know this because I've looked at near enough every female statue, and you will never find a female statue where the hair is just depicted as straight from root to length, ever. It will always be a voluminous style. Look at the amount of volume in this style of this woman here. Okay, I believe this is the wife of Nebmun. But if you look at the volume in her style, and it will always be a series of either locks or these really, most commonly this, so it'll be two kind of like very thin, like two strand, or two kind of like a twist. Let me stop trying to explain it. It's a long twist, okay, that goes from the root of the hair to the base. This was incredibly common, okay, incredibly common in ancient Egypt, incredibly common. Just can play on.
Status, an institutionalized canon for hairstyles was established. These codified hairstyles continued to serve.
Now, this hairstyle we've already gone on with, but this kind of more shoulder length one, this is a hairstyle that you tend to only find amongst nobility. So when the hair reaches the shoulders like this, that generally is a sign of nobility. So you'll see a whole bunch of statuettes, statues, kind of like wall reliefs showing kind of the more common people. But the feeling is almost unanimous that there was a limit to how long their hair was supposed to be in public. And that tended to be kind of like bob length. You shouldn't be going beyond that. This seemed to be, and I think even to have that bob length, I'm not sure if there's a certain level, because when you see even the most common people, they tend to have a really short patted throat or just be bald. So it felt like there's this progression of hair length. And then obviously when you get to the long locks, you never see men with long locks unless they were pharaonic, unless they were the kings, the rulers. So you wouldn't see kind of like, you won't see depictions in stele art at all with people with hair the length of Josa, but you'll see Josa with that length hair. You'll see Amenemhat III with the long locks. You won't see anyone else. So this is what we're talking about when we talk about the codification of hairstyles in ancient Kemet. It wasn't just the case of anyone can wear any hairstyle. There was clearly a hierarchy in terms of the length of the hair that was being displayed, okay, or being portrayed. And it tended to be people of high importance, nobility, who were able to wear, men I'm talking about here, who were able to wear their locks at that kind of shoulder length. That was a sign of nobility.
Serve as the norms for identifying members of the administration or signs of authority. However, the nature of the hair texture required for creating these styles is seemingly disregarded, with Egyptologists over.
So, like I said before, this is the more common length. And as far as I know, from what you can see, a lot of people would have their hair around this length. So even though we know this is Prince Amos here, and we know this is a noble here, we also know we see steles where there are military with their hair like this. So when we have this kind of like short bob length, this tended to be what was kind of more universally common. Now, I don't know if there's some rules around the way it was shaped in terms of the way it was layered inside. I'm not sure about that. Could be, might be, might not be. I haven't picked up anything there yet, but it's just kind of worth noting the differences that you do kind of notice between these different hairstyles.
Emphasizing the utilization of wigs, even where there is little or no supporting evidence. They also fail to acknowledge the extant use of these styles in modern Africa.
Now, I'm going to make an observation here. And actually, someone put me onto this. Wesker, it might have been you. I'm not sure if it was. Someone did put me onto this, and I was like, you know what? I never noticed that before. And now that I've noticed that, I have to acknowledge it. The one thing that you don't see very commonly, and I'm going to say this across the African continent, and here's where I'm going to surprise a lot of people here. All right. The one thing that you don't see very commonly, and when I heard this, I was like, that's kind of true. And this is maybe the one revision I'd make to this video, is a full globular afro. All right, I'm going somewhere with this. Be patient with me. I don't want people to say that's stupid. From what I can see, and this is still common today, but definitely through ancient societies and through all of the cultures that I picked up, including ancient Egyptians, the relationship that the African continent has with afros was almost universally to shape it somehow. So the afro used in ancient Egypt and the afro used amongst Rwandans, the afro used in Meroe, it's always compacted. The pattern of the ancient, and this is across the board, we can look at the relief, wall relief of Hesi, Ra, whatever, it's always compacted. And the reason we know it's compacted is because it always would take on a slightly flatter form at the top. So Africans' relationship with Afro was more to the compacting of the hair. It was it wasn't kind of like this combed out Afro. That actually has a unique origin, and I'm not sure where I heard this. I want to say it's West Coast. West Coast can correct me if I didn't hear this from you, but that actually seems to be a more Polynesian trend. And when I heard that, I was like, that's actually true. As an African, I can actually say that's actually true. The kind of like picked out afro with the hair that's kind of like as lengthy as possible. We know obviously that Polynesians, Fijians and stuff do that. And that might have been the route by which that hairstyle became popular in America. So that might have been the native route where the after kind of afro, kind of uncompacted afro, that's the best way for it to say it. The uncompacted afro could have found its way to America via that route. Because from what I can see, you can see it in the stele art here, and I'm not exaggerating, I have looked for this in ancient Egypt and I haven't found it. The African relationship with the afro, we do have it, but it tends to be, we on the African continent, across cultures, we like to shape the hair. It is a thing. We like the afro to be rounded, compact, patted. We like it to be shaped. I'd imagine there was probably a bit of snipping to get it that perfect, dense thing. We see it amongst the Jimma of Ethiopia. We see it amongst the Limpopo styles by the Mangbetu people. There's always this shaping that's taking place, this shaping of the hair. We obviously see it in Urugori of Rwanda and Amasunzu. So the different styles is always shaping taking place. There's always, so even if it's a round style. So this is where I think I got this wrong, because I would say this is more of a American, a Black American / Polynesian afro going on here. Whereas this one that you see up here, this is a patted afro, more signifying of what you find on the African continent. Just an observation, and I'm open to be corrected. Okay, I'm very, very open to be corrected, but I do think that that is something that when someone made that observation, I can't exactly remember who made that observation to me. I was like, you know what? I kind of racked my mind and I was like, you know what? You could be right there. You could be right there, because I'm not sure that I've seen this in, I'm not sure that this kind of unpatted afro is very common on the African continent. If I'm looking through on a cultural level, yeah. But I'm obviously open to be corrected on that. It's just something that I thought was an interesting observation. Macy, thank you very much. She said, wearing a wig in 100-degree temperatures en masse doesn't make any sense and defies logic. If you think that's stupid, how about wearing a wig to war, which is what the Egyptian infantry clearly did, because every single one of them has got hair. They used to just bald their head off. But guys would go to war, make sure you stop by the barber and slip that thing on your head. Yeah, just keep that Nubian wig in place, you bunch of idiots. That's how you win a war. Egyptologists are a clown show, I swear to you. Or at least the 19th century ones were a complete and utter clown show. All right, so that's anyway, I'm going to move on from that now. I'm sure a lot of people will disagree with that viewpoint, and I'm happy if you're able to disagree and actually give me references and say you're wrong about the unshaped afro thing. It's kind of a universal African thing. I don't think it is at the moment. I feel like afros are a real thing. So if you're gonna, a perfect example would be the Oromo. I know we've all seen before, but if I was to look at the Oromo, what the Oromo do with their afros is very typical. Is very typical of the African continent. Okay, I'm not saying this is the exact, but it's very typical. Rwandans straight away are looking at that and going, yeah, we do that shizzle too. Yeah, this is very typical of our relationship with afros on the African continent, is to shape them. Okay, it's to shape them. Lip drip, are you that same person again? Because I feel like I'm getting the same energy from you that I was getting from that last dude who I just banned. I'm just giving you I'm just putting an early feeler out there. All right, I'm getting that same energy from you, and I haven't got the patience for it today. All right. Just, you know, this just you've been warned. All right, cool. You're not okay. Fine. I'm just letting you know. All right, I haven't got patience for any nonsense today. So, you know. All right. Let me keep it moving.
Africa, where the same styles remain in use. It should be noted that the practice of ethnotrichology is a uniquely African one. Ethnotrichology describes an expression of...
So you can see here, this is this is actually a perfect example of what I was just talking about there. Look at the Egyptian examples of afros, okay? Look at the I should say the Nile Valley examples of afros that we have here, okay? And then look at the image that I've got here. This is a more traditional afro, like I said, a more kind of like untamed, unshaped, combed out afro that's typical of modern Black Americans. But this is a more native African example where there's that compacting and shaping that's taking place. So that's I mean, look at this one. I never noticed this until I really looked at it. Look at the front of this one. Okay, this is not just a free afro. This is very much something that you'd have to compact the afro hair and then really, you know, he's got the shape up. The shape up is divine. Okay, slightly pat it down at the front. I mean, it must have taken time, but then when I see hairstyles like this, which take ages, I instantly just like, yeah, this is still what takes place, you know. This is still what takes place on the African continent. This is definitely an African treatment of an afro there.
Cultural status and values through the use of socially recognized hair grooming. Tassi states, hairstyles as a representation of self were an integral part of the generation.
So, I mean, I'm really talking about the short twist here. I'm trying to remember which pharaoh this is. Someone remind me. I want to say, is this Menti? I don't know why I've had a complete brain block which pharaoh this is. But obviously that's Tutankhamun on the right hand side. And they're just donning the short twist again.
Maintenance and structuring of Egyptian society, reflecting changes in...
And then we have these kind of like short hairstyles, or the ones with a slight line up. This statue on the left, actually, which obviously we know for some reason the modern Egyptians go crazy over because they've sanded him down to his bare wood and gotten rid of every remnant of dark varnish he was probably covered with, and probably given his features a little bit of a reshape. Here's the ironic thing. I'm not sure if you've seen, Nydia Senegal did a reconstruction of this dude, and this dude just looks he looks thoroughly Hausa. Like, this is, you can't see it until it's brought to, like, this dude looks thoroughly Hausa. Like, he just looks, I'm not saying he was Hausa, but I'm saying just feature wise, it's got that kind of like, this dude looks straight up and down. Like, that's what he looks like to me. And actually, I'm sure a lot of people will say he looks Ugandan as well. He's got a real Ugandan look to him. But this guy is just native, like this. Give him back his skin color, which is supposed to be the same as this guy's skin color on the right, and you will see that this is just a straight up and down Sahelian. I'm going to say Central / African to Sahelian. So it's just there, 100% just there, you know. So it's interesting. They kind of like cope over this statue and like present it as one of theirs, and I think some people have even postulated this is a fake. I've never believed it to be a fake. I've just always thought that they just had their way with it, doing their tampering. And seeing Nydia's reconstruction of it, if you're not subscribed to Nydia Senegal's Instagram, you are missing the treat. She does an amazing job. But yeah, check it out.
In Egyptian identity and the development of social organization, he highlights 6 major styles used consistently for ethnotrichological distinction from the pre-dynastic.
So I'm just letting you know, guys, I think when this video finishes, we'll call the live stream to an end because this is going longer than my live stream protocols. So I'm trying to not let this go past 11 o'clock. So I'm just giving you an advance warning. This will be wrapping up when this video finishes. I won't show you the third video today.
dynastic to the Middle Kingdom.
By the way, this side view that I've got here, does anyone know who that is? This is one of my reconstructions. Throw it in the chat if you recognize this fella from profile view. I don't mind waiting for you either. Close, very close. Quickest off the mark there, Mike. Fantastic. Okay, quickest off the mark there. Akhenaten, definitely. Yeah, so this is Akhenaten. And what's significant about this reconstruction is that this reconstruction is 1-to-1 of his statue. So I've taken, obviously, images of the statue from front view, side view, everything. 1-to-1 of his statue and 1-to-1 of KV55 from profile view. So this is a forensic reconstruction. I don't do many forensic reconstructions. I've done a few, but this one is a forensic reconstruction that takes into account the sculpt, the feature positioning, and the craniometrics of KV55 and Akhenaten statue, which is one of the things that led me to believe that KV55 and Akhenaten very well might be the same person. But this is consistent to both. So really love this reconstruction, obviously, for obvious reasons. You guys tell me where you think this person belongs phenotypically on the African continent, which group he gives you a vibe from. I'd be interested to hear what your thoughts on that, actually. Definitely be interested to hear all of your thoughts on that. Let's carry on.
These styles are shaved, which is basically bald, cropped, which Africans identify as a shape-up, short, round and curly, which is essentially an afro, the tiled style, which is short twists or butter curls, and the bob, which is slightly longer twists.
So one of the reasons I like this iteration, you can see this guy here has a definitely given me really strong kind of like Eritrean vibes, actually. This guy over here. But I love the iteration of his hair texture here as well, because this is what I was talking about earlier, the fact that we have displays of the more tightly curled twists, the butter curls, the really thin curled twists. But then if you have more looser, wavy hair, then you'll get these thicker, fuller twists, which are also completely represented. All of these versions of the twist seem to be represented in ancient Egyptian art, which I find amazing. Okay, this is one of the things that I find amazing.
The shoulder length bob, also a variation of twists, presents a slightly longer variation. And finally, the tripartite style, which is full length twists.
And then that female style again, once again, which is just the twisting of hair, basically, to create these kind of like long locks or sister locks. So sometimes they'll, from what I can see with the ancient Egyptian men and women, actually, because you see this in some of the pharaohs, so some of the kings, and you see this in the women. I believe the base style for many ancient Egyptian hairstyles was sister locks, or what you guys know as sister locks, which are very, very thin locks. And what they would do is they would group. So you see this in, let me get up one of Amenemhat statues, or even one of the Amos Nefertari used to do it as well. But I think Amenemhat has the best examples. I hope I can just find one. Amenemhat third dreadlocks. I'm just going to put in dreadlocks. Let's see if we can pull up the statue so I can show you this example. I hope there's a close-up image I can show you. Here's a good one. Here's a good example. So this is an example. Open image in new tab. Oh, it's not a great example, but anyway, that's probably good enough for a live stream, actually, of how the separated locks would be clustered together to form larger locks. He's actually got a better example where they're clustered together and then they're separated again halfway down the lock into the thinner locks. It's amazing to see. So they would use these sister locks as a base to create different hairstyles. So in the case of the women, they would take two sister locks and just twist them around each other to create that kind of long hairstyle that you see so many of the ancient Egyptian women with. The base of that hairstyle would normally be sister locks. And I think it's the same case when it came to some of the ancient Egyptian men, where the base of the style would be sister locks right at the very base and then twist them around them. It's really interesting to see how they achieved these styles. One of the things that happened when I first started looking into hair is I learned so much about African hair in the last 2 years or so that I didn't know about before. I learned about the different treatments they used. I learned about the chebe powder technique. I learned about henna and indigo, and I just learned about all this stuff, you know, obviously butter curls, etc. But all this stuff that is done on the continent, hair care in Africa, is so ancient. I have a study, you know, there's a study that I quoted back in the day when I did the investigation into Ramesses II's hair that people go crazy about. Oh, his hair is straight and it's red. And I showed the study. Like, Egyptologists are aware of the fact that Africans have been using henna and indigo to acquire black hair for ages. And I explained to you guys that I use henna and indigo now. I use it on my chinny chin chin. But I use henna and indigo now. And the henna, they say it's semi-permanent. You might as well call henna permanent, because once you've dyed henna into your, it's there. It doesn't go anywhere. I'm not going to show you right now, but I have red hairs all along here. The indigo does not last. Indigo disappears in about 1 to 2 weeks. It doesn't last long at all. But you can't get your hair black without having the henna on the base. So this henna and indigo treatment is ancient. And henna and indigo grow along the Nile. Okay, these are local plants to the Nile. Okay, they weren't imported anywhere. They are local to the Nile. And so when you see Ramesses, for instance, who was 92, we know, and he had grey hair, obviously, because he was 92 years old and his hair was red. They already know that it was red from the henna. They're very aware of that. What they're not willing to communicate is that he didn't use henna because he wanted red hair to match his youth, like the idiots say. They'll completely leave out the indigo. And by the way, in the study back then, it was called indigo tin. No one really calls it indigo tin anymore, but they called it indigo tin. They'll leave that out. That was in the study. They're very well aware that both of these plants were a part of the hair restoration process. So Ramesses' target color would have been black, not red. Now, me personally, I actually like my little red, my little red beard hairs. It don't bother me. I think it looks better than this, so I actually leave it. But it is what it is, man. So I can imagine that habit, and I know that habit is one that you see in East Africa to this day, where people in different regions, I've definitely seen people in Sudan do it. I've definitely seen some people in Kenya doing it as well, where they've dyed their hair and it's just red, you know, old people, and they're like, hey, I just like a bit of color in my hair. No one's making the claim that they had red hair in their youth. Okay, it's just Africans using their local ecosystem and their plants and their flora to enhance, you know, their lifestyles. It's just a bit of what Africans do. We don't need to explain it, and we don't have to have arguments with Eurocentrists about the fact that someone must have had red hair in their youth to put henna in their hair. That's such a stupid argument because it's universally used across the continent. Anyway, that I just want to give you that little example of close-up locks. In fact, let's see if I can find that second example, because it actually is really good. Someone's done this kind of like visual comparison on Instagram, which is pretty obvious for any African to see. But then here's the one that I wanted to show you. Okay, I wonder if I can get a close-up of that. Oh, that's so annoying. I can't get a close-up. But you can see, let me actually do, this one might actually do. This one's actually quite high resolution. Let me show you this one really quickly. Oh, it's not high resolution. But anyway, you can see it anyway. So remember what I was talking about from thick to thin. So look at the top. This is where, in order to achieve that style, what they've done is they've got these thinner locks that they've ended up with, okay? And these were probably wound around each other to create the larger locks. And then as you can see, each lock is breaking down into around 5 or 6, maybe even 7 if you look at the entire thickness of each lock, to create thinner locks down towards where it breaks from here. It's a dope hairstyle, by the way. Like really mad hairstyles that the ancient Egyptians used to come up with. But I think the one thing that we can all agree is that these hairstyles were absolutely African. There's just no two ways about it. This is an expression of African ethnotrichological culture. And once again, I will stress the fact that you will not see anyone with this length hair. Okay, you will not see anyone with this length hair who's not of a noble standing. It's just unseen. In fact, you just won't see anyone with this length hair as who's not a pharaoh, who's a man. I haven't seen it on Egyptian walls. Okay, there was clear protocols for the length of hair, so it was a pharaonic thing. And I believe that this hairstyle in particular, like I said before, had a very close relationship with the Nemes. Okay, women had long hair, absolutely, but men did not. Women, the long hair was accepted and universal pretty much across the board, because you can see it even in the village sculptures. It's across the board, it's universal. But with men, it certainly was restricted to just the pharaoh being able to have that length of hair.
Or sister locks.
I think we're gonna wrap up there. It is 11 o'clock over here. We've been going for about an hour. What time did we start? 9:30. It was a late one anyway. We're going for about an hour and a half, and I think I'm happy with the discussion that we've had. We're going to end up with just an update. Okay, now let me just do a quick refresh. Okay, doing okay. Have hit a little bit of a stagnation point, okay, in my fundraise for the book, and I have to hit my target, otherwise it won't fund. So if you haven't done it already, guys, I've got 72 backers. I'm grateful for each one, but that works out to about 0.08% of my subscribers. Okay, 0.08% of my subscribers have backed me so far. If I even got it to 1%, I'd probably, based on the current numbers, I would triple my target if 1% of my subscribers purchased a copy of my book. So there you go. I'm just going to leave that out there for you guys. If you get value from the work that I do, I want you to get more value by ordering a copy of the book, because I promise you it will be the best piece of content that I've ever produced, and that's a promise from me. Okay, so anyway, I'm not going to carry on at you. I appreciate everyone who's made the donation. I know who you are. Some of you are the regular suspects, or the usual suspects, I should say, and I can't really express how grateful I am. But I need, if you're on this stream and you like what you see and you like the content and you want to appreciate some of the work I put into research, then there's no better way for you to do that than to participate in the book launch and get yourself an early copy. Let me just quickly put a link in the chat and I'll pin it, and then I'll go to the chat, maybe read a couple comments before wrapping up for the day. Let's quickly pin that as well. Give me a second. Okay, superb. Thank you, Dregger. So all right, cool. So let me just have a look through. Smash the likes. Thank you very much, Wildflower, for reminding everybody. Let's get some likes and some views here. You need to check out Bounty Beauty's Nation, on the politics of hair. Her latest, the I didn't know Banty Beauties had a channel. Do you mean Banty Beauties who's a regular on my live streams? Is that the same person? Let me know if that's the same person. I know I got a follower called Banty Beauties. If she's got a channel, I will definitely sub to that and check her out. That sounds really interesting. Let me see what else is going on here. Thank you. I Manifesto, or was that an L? Yeah, I Manifesto. I appreciate it. I appreciate your backing. Listen to this guy. Don't forget to hit the like button. Have a great evening. Lip drip wickle, don't worry about it. I was getting some strange vibes from you, but you seem to have you seem to have a little bit of a true Nego black extremist point of view, which I'd like you to correct. Stay around this channel, okay? There's lots of nuance to the melanated man that I think you're maybe not picking up. You're giving me a lot of Eurocentric true Negro vibes. And I think there's probably things you don't know about the African continent, but just stick around. That's fine, because we're all learning. All right. I don't want to throw you under the bus. You're not the same as the other guy at the block. He's an idiot. All right. I think we're good to go. Could you speak about genetics in Horn Africa, because it's a little controversial? Would love to hear from you, your research. I'd like to talk about Horn Africa, but I'd like to talk about it from a genealogical point of view, as opposed to genetics. Because the problem with the field of genetics is that at the moment it's been manipulated and people don't understand what they're saying. I keep saying this, but people don't understand what they're saying. They're given ownership of genes and genetic data to groups that have modern groups who display them at the highest rate, which is absolutely stupid. And I explained this before, because Africa's so phenotypically diverse that we lose that battle almost universally, because we don't display single genes at such a high rate, because we're so diverse, because we're such an old continent. But it doesn't mean that those genetic signals didn't originate right there on our continent and were passed out to those various places. So the whole way we're approaching is backwards. And I believe that there are certain parts of Africa, the Horn of Africa being one of them, because of the Horn's massive influence across the Ephratic and even two parts of Asia, because those Africans were the ones who spread out to those parts. Many of the genetics that originate in the Horn of Africa have been attributed to being foreign, and then they say where they came to the Horn as a result of a back migration, which I don't believe is the case. So I'd like to discuss the history of the Horn from an African perspective, an African genealogical perspective. But I have to do a bit of work before I get to being able to do that reliably. But thank you for sharing that. Lip drip, please stop telling people what they look like, because you are beginning to annoy me now. Sorry. Just chill out with the true Nego crap. Yeah, don't do that here. Yeah. You're in a nuanced place and you're dealing with Africans. You need to kind of like talk with some respectfully. Okay. Don't be singling out my subscribers like that. All right. Cool. All right. I think on that note, though, we've had a really fantastic live stream. I hope you enjoyed that. It was pretty light. We didn't go at it too heavy, but I think the point was the native Africanity of the hairstyles in ancient Egypt certainly is a thing, and it's wonderful to just kind of like go through. And once again, that challenge, I'll put that challenge up any day to show me a non-African hairstyle. That will be a quick way to silence TKM. Yeah, to refer to myself in third person. You want to silence the TKM? There's a challenge for you, Eurocentrists. Show me non-African hairstyles used in ancient Kemet and shut me right up. Yeah, that's an easy way to do it. Show me your straight-haired blonde pharaohs or your straight-haired brunette pharaohs, and I'll be like, cool, you got me. Bang for rights. Do it. Show me some European hair. Show me a stele that shows a European shaving and hair mixed with lice on the floor. and I want to see it written in the Medunetta as well. And thus they did cut their hair to remove the diseased, to move the insects and the pestilence upon that did crawl upon their scalp. Show me that, and I'm there. I'm with you. Yeah, show me it, and I'm fully with you. I'm fully on board. We got this all wrong. They just wore Nubian wigs. That's cool. I can do that. Yeah. But anyway, yeah, Smelly, you make a very good point. It seems like they were the biggest fanboys of black people. Copied their culture, copied their hairstyles. Like they just were not even just fanboys, they were just massive self-haters, to say ancient Egyptians. I mean, if they weren't black, let's just say, if the ancient Egyptians weren't black, they're like the biggest, what do you want to call it? It's the biggest indication that they were a colony of a black culture, because they're just literally copying everything that the Africans do. So they might as well be black if they weren't black, because they certainly weren't looking anywhere else when it came to their culture. So like they wanted to be black. You know, it's a kind of like, well, boy, like if I, you know, if they turn out to be a bunch of like Beastie Boys, whatever, then whatever, man. That's a very good point. Dregger, something wigs. No better way to put it. All right, I'm gonna call it a day now. It's late. It's 10 past 11, and this has been the longest live stream since I started my marathon. So we'll wrap up there. Thank you guys for joining me. Thank you those of you who donated, being Dregger, Macy, and Surfactant, and everyone else who's been on the stream. Sorry I've had to kick a couple of people, but they were annoying me. It might be because I'm getting a little ratty, but it is what it is. Have a fantastic evening. Hit up the likes, and I will see you on the next one. Peace. 1 second. Sorry, that was an interesting. Someone has put an interesting little thing in the chat. I'm just reading it. Felix says, I follow the Swahili coast where Pwani is used, closely resembles Pwenet, which fits with the coast and inland regions of Kenya. Yeah, so this is what I'm talking about with the kind of, yeah, the evolution, which is, so that's just Punt. Pwenet is just Punt. That's how it's actually spelled. I want to know more. We'll have to continue this conversation. I want to see where you found these terms and where they sit. Yeah, that's interesting. Thank you for sharing that. Maybe drop me an email. Here, just dropping it in chat now, so I can have a little read of what you got. If you have anything, that is, no pressure. Yeah. All right, cool. That being said, now I am going to wrap up the stream. Have a fantastic evening, everyone. Thank you very much for joining in, and I will see you on the next one. Peace.